aeronautical engineering. And I think my interviewing experience has been kind of one where I was kind of a bit unsure of myself, unsure of my technical abilities, kind of not very confident in articulating myself in front of really experienced people. But I think one of the things that I've kind of learned along the way, I guess, partly because of my upbringing, the values that was instilled in me is just being honest, right? So when I'm asked a question in an interview and I don't know the answer, I'm not going to make something up, right? I'm going to tell them I don't know, but I can find out for you, right? And I think that's kind of like the spirit that most engineers share. That I may not know the answer right now, but I guaranteed I can find out the answer for you. And I think that's really helped me a lot in my interviews. Just being transparent with my gaps in my skill set and being able to communicate that, hey, I am able to solve the problem even though I have not used the tools or know any of the techniques that are required. So yeah, that's my story.
Nice, Offense. And the next expert, introduce yourself.
Good evening, Dr. Country, and nice to meet you too, Ofente. My name is Sabata Mafobokwani. I am currently working as a graduate engineer at Rheinmetall, the Nel Munition here in Somerset West, Cape Town. And for me, the interviewing process, okay, as exhausting as it was, but I think what helped me throughout the whole interviewing process and for all the companies that I interviewed with was preparing way before I even started with the application processes. So Dr. Kante would know that I would sometimes call in to say, Dr. Kante, how do you think I should handle this? So there are also opportunities that were given at UCT where you could just hop in with your CV and then they would revise your CV, tell you what to improve. So such steps, such small incremental mock interviews that I attended to be able to articulate my way in a way that articulate myself in a way that will show and create show how valuable I am maybe to the company. So I think that's what sort of helped me throughout the interviewing process and applications as well.
Nice. Wow, we just in time. We've got our third experts. Can you hear us? Try more.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So again, just to give those who are watching or will be watching this, to some extent, depending how it goes, this might go on to the podcast. But Trimo is also another UAV for Africa graduate. I can say in transition, you went in and out. Yeah. So Trimo, we were asking the question of who you are and the interview process that you had to go through in different ways, and how do you find it? But of course, start with who you are.
Oh, okay. My name is Tremo Aloni. I'm an aeronautical engineering graduate, and I was an intern at UAV for Africa since August 2022. As of yet, I'm doing my master's in robotics and automation, specifically for UAV navigation in dynamic subterranean environments, which I know I'll be helped by Dr. Canton, who has been my mentor since my third year. So in terms of interviews, I've been to a couple of interviews, and yeah, what really has helped me through those interviews is just being truthful. If I don't know something, I have to be truthful and honesty and explain that no, I haven't yet been exposed to this idea, but given enough time and given enough resources and space, I can perform good. So I have been successful in quite a lot of interviews. not only because of how I speak, sometimes because of technical skills that I've gained from UAV for Africa. Because in some interviews, it's not only about spoken or oral interviews that are important. Some they test your knowledge of certain skills and softwares that you are able to use. So where I've been tested in on my CAD, my MATLAB skills, and I did well. So yeah, that's basically me through my interviews and job application.
Nice. Well, welcome, guys. This is really awesome to have different types of people on the call. So, I think if I were to think about it, I've been through so many interviews. You may think, I mean, I've had one, two, three, four. I think I'm on my fourth, if not fifth job. But I've been fortunate to essentially have at least 3 to 4 years each job, right? Which is on average pretty good. Um, but for each one, I had. I mean, I was lucky. Okay, so I was fortunate. Let me just say that I was fortunate for the first few ones to literally roll into them. Just hey, I am hi. My name is um, and that was pretty cool. But I think the last one, which is Germany, man, that one, yeah, that one. See that one, yeah, that one was another one. And that's where interviews and the mindset behind interviews and how do you position your knowledge and your lack of knowledge is so crucial. And I think, man, I did a. You guys probably haven't seen it, but I did a podcast on where I went through an interview process. I went through the whole thing, third, fourth phase. I was even asked, hey, Mr. Kantwe, do you want to come? I think it was in Scotland somewhere, Edinburgh. And I was desperate, which is Wes. When you're desperate and you go for interviews, it's a problem. And I remember they were even willing to pay for the air ticket and whatever. Lord and behold, right? Last minute, I think this was end of December sometime. Last minute they call and say, sorry, we had a technicality on whether we proceed, and essentially your passport, your nationality was a problem because of export control. And I thought, what? So it's not my fault. No, it's not your fault. But how can this be? And that's when you start realizing interviews are hard. And it's not, sometimes it's not even your fault. Sometimes people are not even willing to tell you what the real reason is. And it's oftentimes somebody messed up along the way. They didn't really, do due diligence on their side, and then the rejection letter comes through, and you're thinking, yo, what did I do? And oftentimes it's not actually you; it's something else. So that's, I guess, my next question. What, in terms of interviews, what has been the hardest part of job interviews for you guys? Anybody can go.
Okay, let me start.
Sure.
For me, I think I can say I was in the same situation with you, Dr. Kantu. I know you really understand how the aerospace and defense sector is like when it comes to immigration and nationalities. I've had a job where I went for the interview. They examined me, my skills, and all my qualifications. I got the job offer, I signed the contract. On the date where I was supposed to start the job, they asked for my ID. Then I was like, no, I'm a foreign national, I have a passport. Then, there and there, I had to terminate the contract. Not only that company, I went to another one, which is a big company here in South Africa. They focus on aerospace and defense uh, uh, vehicles. I went for the interviews. I passed everything, but they told me that, bruh, we have seen your CVs and your qualities. You are so good, but at this point, we can't take you further for other reasons. Then I knew where the issue was. The third interview that I went, no, I didn't go actually. The recruiters, they saw my profile on LinkedIn and they had to approach me. They contacted me, and we had a chat. During the process, they realized that I'm a foreign national, and that was the end of it. So I think I have had a lot, and some I even forgot. I have forgotten how many I have been to, only to be told that, bruh, you're too good, but because of that certain thing, like the identity or the identification. So I think that was the reason that led me to go back to school and start my masters. But we don't give up. I'm still restructuring myself. I'm just here for the masters, just to cool down and study the situation and see. Cool down. Yeah, sometimes now you are
Cool down, please, cool down. Yes, we need
you
you to
know,
be cool.
when you are so excited, you have got this qualification, you, and you have got these skills. You think, yeah, you're on top of the world. You're running everything, and everything is under control. Then you meet such challenges. It's a sign for you to restructure yourself and maybe go back to your point one and start to figure out what exactly is it that you are supposed to do, what exactly has God planned for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some of the challenges that I faced. I think in terms of skills development, I think you have been telling me that when you're doing engineering skills, you learn them. It's like your life time activities. You do them daily. You learn your MATLAB, you learn your programming, you learn your Simulink every day. So I've been doing that since when I was third year, when you taught me how to sort of like improve myself. So I've been improving myself in terms of my skills. I think I can't say I'm well good, but I'm moderately better than others. But
Come on.
yeah, that has been that has been the issue. But yeah, I've learned a lot.
Yeah. I mean, let's take the other guys. I have many things to say about you, try more. But let's move forward. Any other guys want to share?
Sure. I think the question was, what's the most difficult part about
Yeah, what's the
interviewing?
hardest part about
What's the hardest part?
interviews?
To be honest, for me, the hardest part is I guess the anticipation, the waiting, you know, the leading up to the interview, and just handling your nerves. And yeah, I found that very very difficult in the past. When you kind of in a situation where the market is not looking great, and then you, after many applications, you get an interview. Now it's time to perform, right? And that pressure weighs on you on the lead up to the interview. And I think that's something I really struggled with. But I think just like going over all of your core skills and like reaffirming yourself by just writing out kind of your strengths and your points of improvement that you're going to work on yourself. I think that also helps to calm you going into those tough interviews. I think that's something I've learned, is the ability to walk into a room with confidence, knowing that I didn't under prepare. Like I came here as prepared as I possibly could be for this particular job, and I'm giving my best. So yeah, that's for me the hardest part generally.
Yeah, no, I think It's not so easy, I must say. I think when you have to wait, and sometimes the waiting, depending on the job, you're thinking, "Yeah, what are these people doing? How many people that they interviewing? Well. I mean, really, come on, guys. I was the best. I was the best. Clear. No, but I hear you. Sabata, do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I think the hardest part from my side was definitely the desperation, as well as trying to deal with the nerves. When you're going for an interview, you prepare so much, study about the company, also revive some of your skills, technical skills. But as soon as you step into the interviewing room, whether it's the virtual room or you are physically present in the interviewing room, there's that shock of nerve that just hops in, and sometimes you aren't even able to articulate yourself or even be convincing enough that I do have the skills, I do have the knowledge. Just give me a chance, because now you are desperate and you're also nervous as well. So at the beginning of the interviewing processes initially, those are the two things that I think I struggled with until I interviewed with multiple companies, gained that confidence in myself, and also in terms of preparation, as I was saying earlier, that sort of built my confidence, and yeah, I was able to.
Ooh.
So yeah, I would
Yeah.
say it's the desperation and as well as dealing with the nerves during the interview.
Yeah. I think to be fair, it is quite difficult. Interviews, guys. Interviews is difficult. Simple. I mean, I think it is. It's you know what it. You know what it is. It's like matric exam, right? When you have to pass matric, no wonder people drink silly when they pass matric, because it is incredibly difficult. But yet when you're over the other side, you forget about it, right? You forget about the exam. Nobody thinks about a matric exam once you've passed. Like no one. There's no one who thinks, hey, that English or that biology or that geography. No one. And I think interviews is the same. So the one thing that I wanted to get into is just because of course today's episode is about, so how do I deal with landing my first job? And one principle that I thought about is be hungry to learn, but eat with a fork and knife. Yes. Be hungry to learn, but eat with a fork and knife. And what it's trying to say is, we should be hungry to learn, right? Very important. The notion that you'll be hired based on your current skill set is a fallacy. You need to get it out of your brain. Like it doesn't work. The notion that you'll be hired based on the fact that you've got a degree and you've passed, that doesn't work. It's your ability to show that you can learn. But now here's the kicker, is learning haphazardly doesn't work. Learning for the sake of learning doesn't work. And you've got to be focused. You've got to be focused in the sense that, for example, let's just think you are learning MATLAB, and I think Trimo was mentioning it. Just learning MATLAB is also useless. Just MATLAB. I'm typing. I'm just typing. Doesn't work. But saying that you've optimized a MATLAB script for real-time sensor data, and you've been going through the summation and the standardization of data set from X place that allows you to do Y, all of a sudden, that's a game changer. It changes the game. So eat with the fork and knife, right? Be structured. You've got to be structured. And that's the difference. The difference between, say, I know MATLAB, I know Python. Great. So does my grandmother. So what? But what do you know? What can you tell us in relations to the job or in relations to your interests? Okay? Very important, because so many times, I mean, I deal with people and interviews all the time, as you guys know. And I asked specifically undergraduates or graduates, I asked them, hey, what do you know? Sir, I know to CAD. Okay? CAD what? No, SolidWorks. Okay, you know everything about SolidWorks or what? No. Hey, me and SolidWorks. We are together. Wow. Okay. That is a vote of confidence. You know everything about SolidWorks. Do you see my point? So having a good understanding of what you know and what you don't know and what you've done is incredibly important. Now, I guess the next question for you guys is, how can you, has this helped? Do you have examples of being very specific about certain things that you've learned or you find out that helped you during the interview to get your job or the next stage? Does any of you have that experience?
I mean, I can take this one. I think
Yeah, sure.
I-
Okay.
who's gonna go first?
No, go for it, offensive.
Okay, cool. I've had experiences where obviously I failed the interview, or rather I didn't get the job. I wouldn't really classify it as failing the interview, but I'll give you two instances of interviews that had different outcomes that went pretty similarly. So I went. So I don't know if I had to give this background, but like I'm no longer in specifically the engineering space. I'm more in the software space, and I was interviewing at this tech consulting company. They had me build a project for them, had to present it, and then one of the engineers would go through my solution and kind of see my understanding of what I built. So I went there. I spent my week or so working on this. I think this was in final year university. Typed it up. Like a university student, the night before type of thing, did an all-nighter. I was ready. This thing worked, and it worked really well. Now it was time to show off to these software engineers at this company that I know what I'm talking about. And as soon as they started to dissect the code and stuff, it started to go downhill pretty quickly. I was not familiar with all the standards and design patterns that they used in the industry. So I just kind of did things in a very, I wouldn't say unorganized, but I was just say in a very functional way as opposed to an object-oriented way. And yeah, so when they started to ask you, so how would you build on top of this functionality? I didn't have any answers for them. And I think the first part was being honest about, hey, this is where I am. I have a long way to go with learning, and being transparent about, this is going to be an opportunity for myself to learn from people that are more gifted and more experienced in the field. And unfortunately, I didn't get that job, but I had also a very similar experience at another company where I ended up getting the role. I did a little test. Everything kind of didn't go amazingly when they started to dissect deeper into the technical solution. But I think the difference there was I was able to articulate the way I was thinking. And I think that was kind of my saving grace in that instance. I think being able to say, hey, this is why I chose to do this, and this is the reasons for that. I didn't kind of just haphazardly throw together some code. And I think that has been like really, really like important throughout my career thus far. I've actually I've really started to think more deeply about how important it is to improve my communication skills, because I think as engineers we kind of get carried away in the technical detail, get very excited about them, and we ramble to people that don't really care about the deep stuff, but they want to know on a mid to high level how this solution is going to solve their problem. And I think being able to communicate that is unbelievably valuable to businesses. And I think me learning that from my failed initial interview, learning that, hey, I could have explained myself better, um, and explained my thinking better. I think that really that lesson helped me, transform those opportunities into solid offers.
Nice. Now that's a very powerful story. Anybody else? I think Sabata, you wanted to tell us?
Yeah, sure. So for my side, yes, I was saying for my side, well, I haven't been assessed to the degree that Offense is saying he was assessed in terms of technical assessments. But of course, during the interviewing process, there were questions that tested what exactly you know and what do you not know. So, and as you were saying, Dr. Country, being intentional in what you are learning, in what you're doing, it really helps. So, as I was an intern at UAV for Africa, I was trying by all means to get what is it that am I learning from this? Okay, I just had a meeting with Dr. Country. There's something that I did not get, but what did I get from that session that I had? So being able to understand exactly what I know from the experiences that I've had to learn, not just for the sake of learning, really helped me throughout the interviewing process. Because if I received maybe technical questions after mentioning that I worked at UAV for Africa and this is what I did, there were follow-up questions, follow-up technical questions, which I was able to answer because I was very intentional in my learning, in my in ensuring that I do as I was tasked at UAV for Africa. So the aspect of being intentional and being focused into ensuring that you know exactly what you know and you're honest and upfront if you do not know anything. Like Offenso was saying that if I do not know anything, then I do not know it. But given enough time and resources, then I can do it. And I've demonstrated this over a series of vacation work programs. And yeah, so that is it. Being intentional about what you are learning, what you are doing, being able to get the key takeaway points is really what helped me through some of these technical questions that hop in interviews.
Nice. This is incredible because I think that's something that we forget. You have to be intentional, right? What is it that you are learning? Did you want to say anything, Trimo?
Okay, for me, I had two.
I think we
They were
lost
not interviews as such. Can you hear me?
Yes. A bit. It's a bit fuzzy, but I can hear you.
Okay, so what I was saying is like they were not interviews as such, but there were connections where some recruiters and human resource managers from certain companies would approach me and ask me for my qualifications. You know, I still remember this company, they were looking for a flight test engineer. So for me, I know my Simulink and my MATLAB, but unfortunately, I didn't know how to do the hardware part. So because I couldn't do the hardware part, you know, the offer disappeared. So that situation helped me to realize that, you know, I have a lot of things to do. You know, I need to pull up my socks in terms of my hardware. You know, I don't have to be like only a technical guy who only focuses on the software part of things, but hardware part, I need to put myself into it. And also, there was this other company. I think the CEO of the company saw my profile on my LinkedIn, and they were like, "Do you perhaps know how to program robotic arms?" And you know, but I realized that you know I haven't yet reached such a stage, and it challenged me a lot. And at this point, I think I was challenged, and I'm thinking of furthering that idea and improve my knowledge of those systems.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just by the way, I just sent you a message, Tramo. Your audio is cracking. So maybe you want to look at the cable or just change directly to speak into the phone. But I want to get into, again, just to redirect the conversation. It's about how to land your first job, right? And there is a concept called the STAR concept. STAR. And it's essentially one of the biggest mistakes engineers make in interviews is to ramble. I am I am guilty number one. I have rambled in interviews for mainly one reason. I was not present. I didn't understand that it was okay to not know. Right? I did not give myself the latitude, the permission to not know and say I don't know. But a way to get around that, even when you don't know something very well, is to use the STAR method. STAR, S stands for situation, which essentially means, what is the problem? T stands for task, like what did you do? What was your role in the problem? A is for action. What did you actually end up doing? And what was the result? R. And so it can go something like this, where you say, the problem was to understand. Let's take UAV for Africa, for example. The problem was to understand how can one design a low-cost, high-impact drone solution for the African market while using 3D printing and low-cost electronics. Boom, big problem. What is my role? My role is to come up with, Arduino code that allows us to interface with the drone. We call it the HCS, handheld control station. And my role is to essentially just develop a user interface. So that is what I did. Is I eventually came up with a workflow and a flowchart of what that will be, and the various steps, both on Word and eventually C++, that will allow me to go from a specific task to the result, which being the user interface being tested on the hardware and also maybe on an emulator like Walkwe. STAR. Done. Finish. You stop there. You don't go further. Anything further, I don't know. No, I don't know. That's all I did. Hopefully it was clear. So that is such an important concept because it brings attention to what you know and what you are clear to articulate, but also brings incredible accuracy on what the problem was and what were you involved in. And that's it. And I think oftentimes, me as an interviewer, I appreciate when someone does that. And even the person will say to me, wait, sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant that's all I did. And they'll be like, okay, so you cannot tell us how the stars and the moons and... No, I can't. Sorry. Should I? I can find... No, it's fine. Let's move on to the next one. And you'll be so memorable to the interviewer because not only do you show confidence, but you show acceptance of a beginning and an end. Because that is the Achilles heel of an engineer. Knowing the beginning and knowing when to end. So hopefully that's clear. And I think one thing that I would say that leads me to the next part is ask question. Ask question that make you unforgettable. ask question that make you unforgettable. The first question or the first thing you should come up once I say this is be like, okay, hey, yeah, I know this guy is now going places now. When's I gonna land? What do you say about being unforgettable? I mean, it's Valentine's today. What's up? Who's unforgettable now? No, but what I mean is, and I'm going to use try more and myself as living in South Africa as a foreigner. What makes you unforgettable is oftentimes the very thing that sets you apart. I'm going to say it again. What makes you unforgettable is the very thing that sets you apart. For example, like me, I made it a point that my understanding of technical concepts that I know, I'm able to articulate, that I'm able to ask questions upon their answers. So what do I mean? Let's just say you're applying for a job like Trimo did for a flight test engineer, and essentially they are telling you are asking them, how's it to work here? A very general question, in terms of, now's the time to ask questions, right? And you're asking them, hey, how's it working here? I've heard that the company is actually going through some expansion, and can you tell me more about it? Fine, they'll give you very general answers because it's a very general question. Then you say, I've always been incredibly curious about how things fail and learn from them. What are some of your lessons that you've learned from some of the flight tests where you've had failures? Sorry? Yes, I'd like to know. Is it confidential or can you talk about it? Maybe at a high level. It's just really good because I am a guy who appreciates failure more than successes. Unforgettable. Okay? You go and of course you can trace it back to your childhood. Hey, I failed. I've learned. I tried. I went to school like this. I appreciate you telling me a little bit about failure. What is it that you've learned? Or is it anybody in your department that can tell me if you're not aware? You're unforgettable. And I think when you get to that stage of one, being confident, two, being okay with thyself in relating questions to your personality, to your experience, to your understanding, and to what actually you're interested in, then all of a sudden you become someone who is attractive. Your character, your personality is attractive. People want to speak with you. People want. It's not just about your head knowledge. It's not about what you know. It's now your character. It's what your values. There you go. Your values, your core values. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I appreciate in UAV for Africa is, if the intern, of course, allows it, he gets to be challenged, right? And he gets to be challenged on specifically doing things that out of his comfort zone, right? I think of the things that Offense had to do. I remember very well. He had to do some CFD work, completely out of his comfort zone, using, what was it using? OpenFOAM or some other software, I can't remember. I remember very clearly Trimo also, going to performance studies of battery, and it's like, hey, said, nah, I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay. It's fine. Sabata the same, kind of coming up with the user interface for, I mean, remember Sabata, right? All the maneuvers, and we have to kind of figure out the GUI. The important part is using that as a leverage to ask questions that people will think about. And no experience is lost, ever. So even if you don't have corporate experience, you have experience nonetheless. Let me say that again. Even if you don't have corporate experience, you have experience nonetheless. So much more for someone who has been an immigrant, who had to fight their way through. Your experience and you able to leverage your experience is gold compared to someone who hasn't gone through the same thing. So ask questions that are unforgettable. Now, what are some questions that you've asked that you felt that, okay, not only are you proud of the question, but two, you got a really good response. Is there anything, any situations like that?
I can take this. I think a question, I think a question that I've kind of learned along the way is to kind of ask the person that's interviewing you, what does it look like for somebody that's going to be hired in this role to shoot the lights out, to be exceptional at the job, right? Like, what is it? What does that look like? Can you describe the attributes of that person, their habits? Can you just give me a picture of what that looks like? And I think that question actually most of the time catches the interviewer off guard, and they have to take a moment and think about previous people that are absolutely, amazing at the roles, or that are really high performing in the workplace. And I think it also sets like expectations. It's not. I'm not trying to get this job to be mediocre. I'm trying to do something special, something really, really well. So I think my previous 2 jobs interviews that I've had, I definitely asked that question, and I think it did leave a mark. I'm not sure if a lot of people do ask that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go.
Go for it. Try more.
Okay, so for me, I think I've had maybe 2 questions. The first one that I usually ask is with regards to contingency plans in case we are hit by another pandemic. What plans does the company have in place or in stock in the event that we have another pandemic, and maybe the pandemic might be even be worse than COVID-19? How is the job security like? Or how is the company gonna survive such a huge blow? And the second question that I usually ask, I've seen a lot of companies, especially in the aerospace and tech industry, running at a low budget, or maybe sometimes reaching a point where they are insolvent, they can't run anymore. So I would ask the guys who are in authority, like, what's the plan like for you to avoid such circumstances, and what do you have in place? Some companies, they usually focus on, maybe they've got funds that are just budgeted for research and development, but outside that, they don't have any other income generating activities. So I'll be asking, like, what are plans that are available to avoid reaching a point where we are no longer able to manage or fund the projects that we are currently maybe doing in that company?
Hey, you're going deep, boy. Hey, you want to know money?
No, it's just
They're gonna see you on you. Say, there's a gentleman, this young guy is asking about contingency. Even the guy in the interview is like, you know what, boss? I also don't know. Boss, please. This young man has put thoughts in my head. No, I don't know. What is the contingency? I have children. Please, boss. Tell us. I've been 5 years. This guy is interviewing. Now it's put stress in my head. No, awesome. I get it. I get it. Well, very, very cool questions. Let's try more. Sabata.
Okay, sure. Thank you. For all the interviews that I've had, there's always been at least one question that I never forget, and then at most two. The first one is, if I'm fortunate enough to be absorbed, or if I'm fortunate enough to make it through the interviewing process and I'm employed, what do I need to have accomplished 6 months from now to have met your expectations or to know that I'm successful in this role? So then that shows that I'm intentional in what I want to do, and I do not want to be just there with the idea that okay, I'm on track without actually being on track.
Yeah.
And the second one I usually ask is, what is their retention rate? If it is a graduate program, how many graduate do you stay, and why do you think more of your graduates are leaving? Are you conscious of the fact that some of the people are leaving, and are you aware of the reasons that are making them leave? And the third one would be, what would be the most difficult thing that I'd have to experience while working for your company? Or what is the most difficult or challenging thing I'd experience as I step into this role? So that shows how interested I am about the company, and I'm not just thinking about the now, but I'm also thinking about the future. So yeah, I think these three questions have worked wonders for me, and I felt proud of the questions because it also showed that I'm interested in the company, and yeah, I'm trying to build a long-term relationship with the company. But in doing so, I need to know what lies ahead of me, so that if I do make the decision to accept the offer, if you do give the offer, I know what I'm actually stepping into, and I'm ready for whatever is coming my way.
Wow. Come on. Hey. You know, when I hear you young guys talking, I'm just feel so proud. You know, like I think
Yeah,
of
it's you
offense.
guys.
Offense. When the first time I saw, he was a lighty. Like you know, I'm thinking, yeah, look at him. You know, big boy. Yeah, he's making things happen. And I think what you said, Sabata, is very important. Is we talk about interviews, landing your first job. But what you should be thinking about is, what do I want for my career? Right? That's essentially what you're saying. You're basically saying, I'm interested in not just getting through the front door. I'm interested in understanding the steps of success. Now, this is quite important because when one talks about success is not linear. Let me say it again. Success is not linear. I've had roles where, I had to scrape, I would say cow dung. You know, when an engineer says, I'm scraping cow dung, where you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I'm analyzing this model and over and over and over. And the engineer who's asking is asking the same question. Week in, week out. Have you gone through this? Have you gone through that? No, try it this way. That's I call it cow dung. You are in the graveyard shift. But that is success. Why? Because you are showing that you are growing in character, you are growing in understanding that you can deal with all sorts of boring and not so boring work. And that's what makes a very good engineer. Because a good engineer, a good professional, is not in and out of season. He's consistent. That's what a professional is. He's consistent. Whether you get paid or you don't get paid, he's consistent. Now, those are key lessons because that's what makes a career. I am now, 17 years, almost 18 years into this business. Like, there were moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what the heck am I doing? like really, like I don't know where I'm going, but at the same time, I also know that those are the very moments that refine me for the next step. So it's always a catch-22, and I think what Sabata is saying is that you always got to look ahead. If it's not 6 months, once your 6 months is gone, what is your next year? If your next year is gone, what's your next 5 years? And does the company allow me to progress with those goals in mind? Or do I have to scrape cow dung for a while until those opportunities open up? No, seriously, this is very important because it will not always be rosy. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to leave. It potentially just means this job is a stepping stone for something better, but you have to wait while scraping cow dung. So, very, very important things. And I want to end with this. And this has been an amazing, amazing, amazing podcast slash webinar slash conversation, laughing out. I think we have to be strategic, and I'll say it again. You need to be willing to eat, hungry to eat, but you got to eat with a fork and knife, which means you've got to be focused on mastering the specific skills that leverage on your previous skills so that you can position yourself in the right way in terms of where your career needs to go. You've got to use the STAR method. I'll explain it again. In a situation, task, action, and result. Package it, make it clear, concise, efficient, so that the interviewer, whoever it is going forward, right? STAR method is not just for interviews, by the way. STAR method is used throughout life, but so much more in interviews where you want to show your best foot forward, put your best foot forward is definitely the place. Ask smart question or ask questions that make you unforgettable, right? And some of you have mentioned some of these things, which is not just getting to the front door, but really go ahead and really think about, that you're not here just to fill in the numbers. So the one thing I would say, just to end off, is it's not easy, right? It's not easy to get a job. It's not. And unfortunately, it's so much more difficult as an African man to get a job within aerospace or just tech in general. And that just should be taken as part of the challenge. I see it all the time. I take it all the time. It's part of the package. I'm African. I'm flat nosed. It is what it is. But I can tell you this. I know my stuff. You can't come to me and think you can, jiga. I know my stuff, and that I will use. And what I also know is I have a character to learn, and I have a character to be honest, and to be ethical, and to be moral, and to be full of values that says I'm a team player and I'm willing to succeed, not only individually, but as a team. And you articulate that, for sure, you'll stand out. Stand out, 100%, stamped, rubber stamp, triple stamp, you will stand out. So, I want to thank you guys for Fense. Thank you so much for participating. Sabata, thank you so much for, now that you're a big boy, thank you so much for making the time. And try more. Always a pleasure, my friend, to have you and to hear your stories. We want to hear more from you, as you know. But yeah, I just want to just say thanks again for just an engaging and interactive chat discussion. And let's hope that more and more people will watch this and be inspired to just go for it and learn the lessons. To just don't fear, man. It's just an interview. All right. Awesome. So this was another podcast, MoloMolo African Tech Stories. I am Dr. Paulin Kante. And again, with my African bros, my brothers from another mother. But really, hopefully, this was something that you all have taken into account in terms of landing your first job. If you want to know more, of course, follow the MoloMolo Tech Studios links that comes with this podcast, and hopefully you get to learn more from other videos. Until next time.